99% of people don't know this, but before Eve, there was another woman in Eden, and her story was forbidden. Not erased by accident, not forgotten by time, but removed on purpose. You're watching The Forbidden Bible, where the hidden war of angels and demons, the ancient prophecies sealed for the last days, and the forbidden mysteries of Scripture are revealed with cinematic clarity. If you're new here, subscribe and tap the bell icon, because what you're about to discover may change the way you understand heaven, the unseen realm, and your place within it. Tonight, we're not just telling a story, we're uncovering a mystery. Who was Lilith, really? Why did she leave Eden? And what happened after she chose freedom over paradise? Ancient Jewish texts, mystical writings, and fragments from forgotten traditions all point to one unsettling possibility. The beginning of humanity may not be what we were told, because this is not just a story about a woman. It's a story about power, about control, and about what it really costs to say no. And once you hear it, you may never see Eden the same way again. Let's go back to the beginning. In the beginning, there was no voice, no footsteps, no questions, no one to witness creation itself. The world existed, but it was silent. Rivers moved across the land, but no one heard them. The wind passed through the trees, but no one felt it. Light touched the surface of the earth, but no one saw it. Everything was there, but nothing was aware. And for the first time, something was missing. Not power, not beauty, but awareness. So God reached down into the dust of the earth. His hands pressed into the ground, shaping something new. Not just another creature, but something different, something that could see, something that could think, something that could ask why. The form lay still at first, lifeless and empty, nothing more than shaped dust resting on the surface of the world. And then God breathed. Not just air, but something deeper, something invisible, something that would separate this being from everything else that had ever existed. The chest rose, the fingers twitched, the eyes opened, and for the first time, creation looked back at its creator. His name was Adam, and in that moment, the world was no longer silent. It had a witness, it had a voice, it had a mind that could observe everything around it. But awareness comes with a cost, because the moment something can think, it can question, and the moment it questions, it can resist. Adam walked through Eden, and everything responded to him. The animals did not fear him. The land did not reject him. He named what he saw, and in naming it, he understood it. But understanding is not the same as fulfillment, because even in a perfect world, something still felt incomplete. The garden was full, but Adam was alone. And that loneliness was not a flaw in creation. It was part of its design. Because awareness does not just recognize the world, it recognizes absence. And absence creates desire. The book of Genesis tells us that God saw this and said it was not good for man to be alone. But when you look closer at the original Hebrew text, something unusual begins to appear. Because in Genesis 1:27, it says that God created mankind in his own image, male and female, he created them. Not separately, not in sequence, but together, at the same moment. Two beings, one act of creation, equal in origin, equal in breadth, equal in existence. But then, just one chapter later, the story changes. Now Adam stands alone in the garden. Now the woman has not yet been made. Now she will come later, formed from his body, from his rib, as a companion designed for him. Two accounts, two different beginnings. And for centuries, this contradiction has troubled scholars, theologians, and historians. Because both versions exist in the same text, both are preserved, neither is removed. Which raises a dangerous question. What if these are not two versions of the same event? What if they are two separate events entirely? Ancient Jewish interpretations, including early commentaries and later mystical writings, suggest that there may have been a first woman, one who was created at the same time as Adam, from the same dust, in the same way. Not from him, not after him, but beside him. A woman who shared the same beginning, the same breath, the same awareness. A woman whose story does not appear in the official version, but survives in fragments, in whispers, in texts that were never meant to be widely taught. A name that appears quietly, almost like it was never meant to be spoken out loud. Lilith. But before she became a legend, before she became something people feared, before stories turned her into a demon, she was simply human, just like Adam, created from the same dust, placed in the same world, given the same gift of awareness. And at first, there was no conflict, no command, no hierarchy, just two beings existing side by side, discovering what it meant to be alive. But equality is fragile, because the moment one being believes they were meant to lead, the other is forced to choose, follow or resist. And that choice would become the first fracture in human history. Not hunger, not survival, but power. So what really happened between Adam and the woman who came before Eve? And why would a story like that be buried for thousands of years? To answer that, we have to go back, not to the fall of Eden, but to the moment everything still seemed perfect, before the argument, before the rebellion, before Lilith said no. Eden was not quiet anymore, not after Adam opened his eyes. The moment he breathed, the world changed. The wind felt different, the ground carried weight, the silence broke. Everything moved around him as if it had been waiting. He walked, and the animals turned their heads. He touched the trees, and the leaves trembled. He spoke, and for the first time, sound meant something. And yet, something was wrong. Not visibly, not immediately, but it was there. A gap, a space that the garden could not fill. Adam felt it before he understood it. A pressure in the silence, a presence that didn't belong to the world around him, because the world responded to him, but something else didn't. And then he saw her, not arriving, not appearing, just there, standing across from him as if she had always existed, watching him the same way he was watching her. No fear, no confusion, no submission. Just awareness. The same awareness. That was the first thing he noticed. She was not like the animals. She did not react. She observed. Just like him. She stepped forward, slow, controlled, certain. The ground did not shake. The sky did not change. But something inside the world shifted, because, for the first time, Adam was not the only one looking back. They stood there, facing each other. No words, no instructions, no voice from above explaining what this meant. Just two beings, aware of each other, equal in presence, equal in silence, equal in existence. And that silence was heavier than anything Adam had felt before, because in that moment, something new entered creation. Not danger, not fear, but comparison. He looked at her and saw himself, the same form, the same breath, the same spark behind the eyes. And for a moment, there was balance, perfect balance. They moved through the garden together, side by side. No leader, no follower. The river reflected them both. The ground carried both their weight. The world did not choose between them. And that was the problem. Because Adam began to feel something he could not name. Not anger, not fear, but uncertainty. Because if she was the same, then what made him different? If she was equal, then what made him first? And that question stayed with him. It followed him as they walked, as they explored, as they learned. Lilith moved differently, not slower, not faster, but deeper. Where Adam named things, she questioned them. Where Adam accepted, she examined. Where Adam saw what was, she asked why it was. She touched the water and asked why it flowed. She looked at the trees and asked why they grew. She looked at the sky and asked who they really were. And every question made something inside Adam tighten. Because the world he understood was no longer simple. It was no longer fixed. It was changing. And she was the reason. There is something the old stories never tell you. The first conflict did not begin with anger. It began with discomfort, with a feeling that something was out of place, something that refused to stay where it was supposed to be. Adam felt it growing, quiet, persistent, unavoidable, because for the first time he was not alone in his awareness. And awareness, shared, is no longer control. It is competition, and that is where everything began to break. Not with a command, not with a rule, but with a thought. A simple one, dangerous in its simplicity. I was created first, and once that thought formed, it could not be undone. It didn't start with shouting, it started with silence. The kind that feels wrong, the kind that stays too long. Adam watched her. Every movement, every step. She moved forward without hesitation. No questions, no pause. And that bothered him. Everything else in Eden followed a pattern. The animals moved around him. The world responded to him. But she didn't. She chose her own direction, thought on her own. And Adam felt it, something slipping, something he couldn't hold on to anymore. He tried to ignore it, he couldn't. One day, he stopped walking. She kept going. That was the moment. Stop. She didn't stop. He stepped forward. Faster now. You should walk behind me. No anger, just command. Simple, direct, final. Lilith stopped. Slowly, she turned. Why? One word, calm, but sharp. Adam stepped closer. Because I was created first. Silence, heavy, pressing. Lilith didn't react. First doesn't mean above. That hit, harder than he expected. Adam's jaw tightened. The man leads. His voice dropped. The woman follows. This time, it wasn't a suggestion. It was a rule. Lilith stood still. Who said that? Adam paused. Just for a second. That was enough. There was no answer. No command. No proof. Only belief. Only ego. His voice hardened. I don't need to be told. Lilith stepped forward. Not back. Never back. Then you're not following God. That landed. Silence tightened between them. Adam's breath slowed, but his hands clenched. You were made for me. There it was. The line, the break, the point of no return. Lilith's eyes didn't change, but something inside her did. Something clear, something final. No. The first refusal, ever. The world froze. Adam stepped forward, closer now, too close. You will lie beneath me. Not a request, not a belief, a command, absolute. Lilith held his gaze, unblinking, unshaken. I will not. She didn't move after that. Not forward, not back. She just stood there and watched. The animals still moved in pairs, side by side, equal. No one above, no one beneath. Everywhere, balance. Except here, except with him. And for the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt wrong. And just like that, it broke. Not the garden, not the world. Them. The first fracture, the first rebellion, the first time no existed. Adam felt it. Control, gone. Order, cracked. Certainty, shattered. Lilith felt it too. But she didn't lose anything. She gained something. Choice. And once choice exists, nothing stays the same. Everything stopped. Not peacefully, not naturally. It felt forced, like the world itself was holding its breath. Adam stood there, chest rising, eyes locked on her. You will obey. This time, it wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't even a command. It was expectation, the kind that assumes it will be followed. Lilith didn't move, didn't lower her eyes, didn't break. No. The word landed harder than before. Not louder, but deeper. It echoed in a way sound shouldn't. Adam stepped forward, faster now, his presence pressing into her space. You were made for me. Each word sharper, controlled but cracking underneath. You will submit. Lilith's breathing slowed. From focus. Something inside her was shifting, awakening. She had felt it before, not in him, not in the world around her, but somewhere deeper, something hidden, waiting, not to control her, but to be spoken. I was not made beneath you. Adam's expression hardened. The last trace of calm disappeared. Then you will be forced. The moment the words left his mouth, everything shifted beyond them. The atmosphere tightened, the light dimmed slightly, as if an unseen presence had turned its attention toward them. Lilith felt it, not as pressure, as clarity. For the first time, she understood something Adam didn't. This wasn't just about him. This was about structure, something that expected her to bend. And in that moment, she decided. Absolutely. She looked up, not at Adam, past him, as if seeing something he couldn't, something higher, something ancient. She didn't speak immediately. Her lips moved slowly, repeating something silently, testing it, holding it in place, and the longer she held it, the more the fear disappeared. Then she spoke. Not fast, not loud, deliberate, precise. A sound that did not belong to human language. The name, the divine name. No human was meant to speak it, because it was never just a word. It was authority. Her body resisted first, a sharp pressure in her chest. Her spine bent unnaturally. Blood ran from her nose. The air cracked around her tight, unstable. The moment the sound left her lips, Eden reacted. The air cracked, sharper than thunder. Closer, the ground beneath her feet trembled, not violently, but deeply, as if something fundamental had been disturbed. The trees bent inward, the light flickered, the space between things distorted. Adam froze, completely, not by choice, by force. His body refused to move, his breath caught. His mind couldn't process what he was feeling, because it wasn't fear, it was recognition. Something greater than him had entered the moment. And it wasn't on his side. Something tore through her back, not slowly, not gently. It forced its way out, dark, burning, alive, wings. The world released her. The ground no longer held her weight. The air no longer resisted her. It was as if Eden itself rejected her presence. As consequence, she had crossed a boundary the garden could not contain. Adam forced himself forward. One step, then another, fighting against something invisible. "Stop!" His voice cracked this time. Panic, real panic. But it didn't reach her. Nothing reached her anymore. The space around her twisted, pulled, opened, not visibly, but undeniably. Lilith looked down at him one last time, not with anger, not with hatred, with certainty. She had chosen, and she would not undo it. She rose, higher beyond the reach of the garden, and Eden stayed below. The force around her intensified. The ground beneath her feet split with a sharp crack. A sound tore through the space, and then she was gone, not moved, not hidden, removed. Pulled out of Eden, as if the space itself rejected her existence. Silence returned, but it wasn't the same. Heavy, distorted, wrong. Adam stood alone, again, but not like before. This was not design, this was not creation, this was failure. He looked at his hands, empty, slightly shaking. For the first time, he had lost control. And worse, he had witnessed something he could not understand, something he could not command, something that did not answer to him. And far beyond Eden, Lilith was still falling, not into peace, not into freedom, but into something unknown, and whatever waited for her there was only beginning. Darkness didn't come all at once. It followed her, like something tracking what had escaped. Lilith fell through space that didn't feel like space. No ground, no sky, no direction. Just movement, fast, uncontrolled. And then impact. She hit the ground hard. Not Eden, not even close. The air was heavier here, thicker, colder. The light, weaker, wrong. She pushed herself up, breathing steady, eyes scanning. This place was not made for her. Or maybe she was no longer made for Eden. She didn't try to go back. She had already chosen. A sound cut through the air, sharp, precise, not natural. She turned. They were already there. 3 figures, not walking, not arriving, just present, still, silent, watching. Their forms didn't move like humans, too controlled, too exact. The air around them felt different, ordered, heavy, with authority. Lilith didn't step back. She knew what they were. Messengers of God. You were not meant to leave. I was not made to submit. You spoke the name. Yes. That power was not yours. Neither was the command placed on. Me, return. Return to Adam. Take your place. And this ends. No. The air responded. A low vibration beneath everything. You will lose Eden. I already did. You will lose protection. I never needed it. That was the break. The air snapped. The pressure dropped. And then it began. Slowly, precisely. Her body didn't change all at once. It started underneath, something rewriting. Pain. Real. Deep. She dropped to one knee. The ground cracked beneath her. You chose separation. You chose defiance. And now you will carry it. What comes from you will not remain. A pause. Each day, 100 of your offspring will be taken. Not once. Not randomly. Every day, the same loss, again and again. For the first time, she didn't look away. Something inside her went still. You will not die, but you will not remain as you were. You will become something else. Silence. Final. Lilith lifted her head. Then I will choose what I become. The angels didn't answer. Because that wasn't resistance. It was refusal to be defined. They withdrew. Not defeated, not retreating, just finished. Then you will walk alone. Gone, Lilith remained. Breathing, changing. The pain didn't stop. It settled, spread inward, became part of her. And somewhere within that pain, something else formed. Not life, not human. Something that did not follow the old rules. She stood, slowly. The world no longer felt hostile. It responded to her, to something new. And far above, Eden remained, but not untouched, because something had left it, and something had entered the world that should not have existed. The pain didn't disappear. It settled, became part of her. Then it began. No warning, no sign. Each day, 100 of her children vanished. No sound, no trace. Repeating, precise. No resistance, no delay. Lilith clenched her hand. It trembled once, then stopped. She understood. This wasn't random. This was a curse, a rule, a system. She stopped counting, stopped trying to hold on, because nothing stayed. What remained around her began to change. No longer weak, no longer human. They didn't cry. They didn't crawl toward her. They stood still, watching. One stepped forward, slow, certain. It lowered itself, not in fear, in recognition. Mother.
Water.
The word was clear. It didn't need to be learned. Lilith didn't react immediately. Something inside her settled, final. She was no longer what she had been. Her heart no longer raced. It slowed, hardened, like stone. Her skin turned cold, her nails sharpened, her eyes no longer wavered. No hesitation, no doubt, only control. The loss remained, but it no longer controlled her. It shaped her. Lilith lifted her head, looked forward, no emotion. Then she spoke. They take 100 from me each day. A pause. I will take it back. No anger, no grief, decision. And from that moment, the curse was no longer punishment. It became purpose. At first, nothing changed. Lilith took a step. No reaction. She paused, observed, then tried again. This time different. The space in front of her shifted, slight, but real. She stopped. She understood. This wasn't power. This was something that didn't need permission. She stood still. A movement below. A serpent slid out. It didn't run. It watched her. Lilith looked down. You don't belong to them. Silence. She stepped forward. The serpent stayed. You see, a beat. You understand. The serpent raised its head. Not afraid. Lilith continued. In the garden, there are two. Silence. They don't know. A beat. It only takes one choice. The serpent remained still. Lilith lowered her voice. You can enter. No command. Just truth. A pause. The serpent turned, then moved. Without hesitation, Lilith didn't watch it leave. She didn't need to. She was done. She didn't need to return to Eden, because what she had started would continue, not through force, through choice. And once choice changes, everything follows. Lilith turned away. No hesitation, no emotion. And for the first time, she was no longer cast out of the world. She was the reason it would change. Inside Eden, nothing appeared to change. The garden remained perfect, ordered, balanced, untouched. Every tree stood where it had been placed. Every movement followed a pattern. Adam walked through the garden the same way he always had, naming, observing, existing within a world that never resisted him. There was no conflict, no uncertainty, no need to question anything. And yet, something was missing. It wasn't visible, but it was there, a silence that didn't complete itself. God saw it clearly. It is not good for man to be alone. The decision was immediate. Adam fell into a deep sleep, not slowly, not gradually, but completely. His body stilled, his breath softened, and for a moment, even the garden seemed to pause with him. Then God reached into him, not from the dust this time, not from the ground, from Adam himself. A rib was taken, carefully, precisely, and from it, something new was formed, not separate, not distant, but connected. Eve opened her eyes. Her first breath was steady, her first movement natural, as if she had always belonged there. Adam saw her, and something in him responded instantly. Recognition, not learned, not questioned, immediate. This is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. The words came without hesitation. She belonged. The garden accepted her just as quickly. There was no adjustment period, no disruption. Everything aligned faster, cleaner, more complete than before. Eve moved through Eden without resistance. She didn't need to learn. She didn't need to test anything. She understood, instinctively, completely. Nothing inside her pushed against what was given. Nothing created friction, and that was the difference. She was not like Lilith. She did not question. She did not resist. She completed the system, and for the first time, Eden felt stable, whole, perfect, or at least, it appeared to be. Far beyond the garden, Lilith watched. She did not react emotionally. She did not move. She observed carefully, precisely. She saw the difference immediately. Not in how Eve looked, but in how she functioned. Eve did not hesitate. She did not pause to question what she saw or heard. She accepted, completely. Lilith didn't look at Eve the way Adam did. She looked for weakness, not desire, not rebellion. Absence, no doubt, no resistance. That was the flaw. Lilith understood something in that moment. Eve would not break the system on her own. She had not been made to. She had been made to fit it perfectly. But perfection has a weakness. It does not expect to be tested. Eve moved through the garden again, passing near the center, near the tree. She did not stop. She did not look at it for long. She simply moved past it, as if it were no different from anything else. And that was the flaw. Not desire, not curiosity, but absence of doubt. Lilith didn't need to act directly. She only needed to understand. And once she did, the path forward became clear. The garden remained perfect. And that perfection left no room for resistance, no room for suspicion, no room for defense. The tree stood exactly where it had always been, not hidden, not protected, simply present. The serpent was already there, still, watching. It had always been there, but now something about it felt different, not in form, not in movement, but in intent. The serpent did not choose the moment. It followed it. Something had already opened the space. It only stepped in. It did not rush toward Eve. It waited, because timing was everything. Eve approached, not drawn, not tempted, simply aware. The serpent spoke at the exact moment her attention settled. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The question was subtle, slightly misaligned, but precise enough to create space where none had existed before. Eve turned, calm, certain. "We may eat from the trees," she said, "but not from this one. God said we must not eat from it or we will die." She believed what she said, completely. The serpent did not confront her belief directly. It adjusted it. "You will not surely die." No force, no urgency, just a statement placed carefully into the space that had been opened. Eve paused, not in fear, but in processing. The words did not feel wrong. That was the shift. "God knows," the serpent continued, "that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened." Eve looked at the tree again. It had not changed, but her understanding of it had. "And you will be like him," the serpent said softly, "knowing good and evil." The idea settled into her mind without resistance. It did not feel like disobedience. It felt like completion, like something that had always been there, waiting to be recognized. She stepped closer, slowly. Her hand lifted, then stopped midair. For a brief moment, something held her back, not fear, not warning, just hesitation. The first she had ever experienced. She looked at the fruit again. Good for food, pleasing to the eye, desirable for gaining wisdom. The reasoning formed clearly. Clean, logical. There was no internal conflict strong enough to stop her. She reached out again. This time, she did not stop. She took the fruit, held it, looked at it. She didn't feel tempted. She felt convinced. Then she ate. For a moment, nothing happened. No sound, no light, no immediate consequence. Then, something shifted, not around her but inside her. Her breathing changed, her awareness sharpened too quickly. She looked down at herself, and for the first time, something felt wrong. Not the garden. Here, she turned. Adam was there, watching. He had seen everything, not intervening, not questioning, waiting. She did not explain. She didn't need to. She held out the fruit. Adam looked at it, then at her. For the first time, there was a choice. Clear, present. He understood what had changed, and still he took it. No hesitation. He ate, and that was the moment. Not when the fruit was taken, not when the words were spoken, but now, when it was shared. Their eyes opened fully, and what they saw was not wisdom, it was exposure. They became aware of themselves in a way they never had before. Vulnerable, uncovered, they stepped back instinctively, covering what had never needed to be covered. The garden had not changed, but they had, and that was enough. Far beyond Eden, Lilith watched, not surprised, not satisfied, simply aware, because she had seen this pattern before, and now it was no longer hers alone. The moment the fruit was eaten, something changed immediately, not just inside them but around them. The air felt heavier, as if the garden itself had pulled back. The light didn't fall the same way anymore. The stillness that once felt complete now felt empty. The ground beneath them felt different, harder, colder, as if it no longer responded to them the same way. Adam and Eve stood frozen, their breathing uneven, their awareness sharpening too fast. For the first time, they did not feel safe inside Eden. They looked at each other, and what they saw was no longer innocence, but exposure. Something had been lost, and neither of them could name it, but they both felt it at the same time. The ground beneath their feet no longer felt like it belonged to them. The silence around them was no longer peaceful, it was waiting. Then they heard it, the sound of God moving through the garden. Not distant, not gentle, but present, absolute. Adam's body locked, Eve's breath caught. They didn't speak, they didn't need to. They both knew. This was no longer the same presence they had known before. This was judgment. They moved quickly, instinctively, trying to hide, grabbing leaves, covering themselves, pressing against trees as if shadows could conceal them. But nothing hid them. Nothing could. The presence came closer, not searching, but knowing exactly where they were. "Where are you?" The voice came, calm, but undeniable. Adam forced himself to answer. "I heard you, and I was afraid, because I was naked. So I hid." The word afraid hung in the air, foreign, out of place, but now real. God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam hesitated, then answered, "The woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate." The blame shifted instantly. Something else had broken. Then God turned to Eve. "What is this you have done?" Eve answered, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." Eve didn't speak again, but her breathing broke. Not from pain, but from understanding. Something inside her had closed, and it would not open the same way again. No denial, no escape. Then the judgment began. To the serpent he said, "Because you have done this, you are cursed above all creatures. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you will bring forth children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you listened and ate, the ground is cursed because of you. Through painful labor you will eat from it all your life. It will produce thorns and thistles, and by the sweat of your face you will eat until you return to the dust, for dust you are, and to dust you will return." Death had entered, not immediate but certain. Then God made garments of skin and clothed them, not to restore what was lost, but because it could not be restored. And God said, "The man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to take from the tree of life and live forever." Then everything changed again. They were driven out, not gently, not slowly. The boundary of Eden was no longer open to them. The ground outside was harsher, colder, unfamiliar. Behind them, the garden remained untouched, but no longer accessible. At the entrance, something appeared. Cherubim, real, positioned with purpose, and with them a flaming sword, turning in every direction, blocking the way to the tree of life. Not just guarding, but denying return. Adam looked back once. Eve didn't. There was nothing left to go back to. Eden still existed, but it no longer belonged to them. And for the first time, the world outside began. With fear, with labor, with pain, and with death. It didn't end at the gates. That was the mistake. Adam and Eve believed they had been cast out, that Eden was behind them, that the story had closed. But Lilith knew better, because she had already crossed that line before them, and she understood something they didn't. Eden was never the center. It was the beginning. And now they were exactly where she had always been, outside, exposed, unprotected. That was the shift. Not punishment, alignment. For the first time, they were no longer separate from her world. They were inside it, and Lilith felt it immediately, not as a victory, not as satisfaction, but as confirmation. The system had broken exactly where she knew it would, not at the tree, not at the command, but at the moment choice entered something that had never been built to handle it. That was always the flaw, and she had seen it long before Eve ever stood there. The serpent was never the cause, it was the trigger. The smallest possible movement to start something that could not be stopped once it began. And Lilith never needed more than that, because she wasn't trying to destroy Eden. She was proving it could not sustain itself. And now, she was no longer alone. That was the real outcome, not the exile, not the curse, but the expansion. The world had changed, not just for them, but because of them. Because what entered them did not stay contained. It spread into the ground, into time, into everything that followed. And Lilith stood at the edge of it, not as a ruler, not as a shadow, but as the first to step into what humanity had just become. And that is why her story doesn't end here. Because this was never about the fall. It was about what comes after. And that is where most people get it wrong. They think this story ended thousands of years ago, that Eden was a place, the fall was an event, and Lilith was just a forgotten name buried in the past. But nothing about this story stayed in the past. Because what entered the world that day didn't disappear. It adapted. It spread. It became part of everything that came after. Every system, every structure, every moment where choice exists without clarity, that was never removed, only repeated. And that's why Lilith matters now more than ever. Because she was never just the first woman. She was the first to step outside the system and see it for what it was. Not perfect, not complete, but limited. And once something is seen as limited, it can be challenged. That pattern didn't end in Eden. It became human behavior, questioning, breaking, rewriting, over and over again. And now, look at the world we're in. More knowledge than ever, more access than ever, more voices than ever, but also more confusion, more division, more instability. The same pattern just scaled, because the core hasn't changed. We still reach for what we don't fully understand. We still choose before we are ready, and we still believe that awareness will fix everything. But it never did. Not in Eden, not now. And that is the part no one wants to say out loud. The system wasn't just broken once, it's being broken continuously. And every time it happens, it follows the same structure. A question, a shift, a decision, a consequence. And somewhere in that pattern, whether people realize it or not, Lilith still exists. Not as a figure, not as a myth, but as an idea. The moment something looks at the world and says, "This isn't complete." The moment something decides not to accept what is given, that's where it begins again. And that's the real twist. Eden was never destroyed. It was replaced by a world built on awareness, conflict, and choice. And we are still living inside that decision, right now.